Over the last few years, I've had this thought that's been increasingly nagging at me. This thought that, the world was a lot more quieter when we were young. I'm 34 now, and I realize that maybe it's because I'm being exposed to a lot more things now. Maybe that's why. And I realize, no, that's not the case. And I decided to dig into this thought over the last few weekends. And I realized it all had to do with social competition. Let me give you an example. Now, when we woke up every morning and we went to school or college, and we always had to worry about social competition, whether it was just stepping out of your house, and that's the first thing you got to worry about. And you have to pretend to be someone else for somebody else that you're probably going to meet for a couple of hours every other day. And you come back home in the serenity of your four walls, and you realize that this is a place where I can be myself, where I can just let loose and forget about the social competition, and no one else's influences around you. But today, after the advent of social media and so on and so forth, I feel like the world has gotten noisier, because when we come back home after all of the social competition and we're back in our four walls, we're back onto our phones, where we are constantly checking Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, God knows how many apps are out there. And we feel the social pressure again of being somebody else, or constantly competing with what you see on the phone. And I believe that that's partially the reason why I felt like the world was a lot less noisier before. Because over the last few weekends, I did something where I just cut off social media. I've gone off of Facebook, Instagram, name it, pretty much whatever app that's out there, I was on it. And I went off of it. And I realized that the world was starting to slow down again. When I come back home, I'm not worried about this social tension that we carry all over, and I started feeling myself from within, and I realized that I'm in touch with myself again, and I'm not. I just feel lighter. So that's when I decided to go ahead and write a small piece, which I'm going to read out to you right after this. And I hope it helps a lot of people out there who feel this social tension and this social competition and the social burden that we're subjected to every single day. Because my suggestion, don't bring it back home into your four walls. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Who are you? In all of us, there is an itch that is so deep that sometimes we don't even know is there. Sometimes this itch reaches out from within us and bobs on the surface of our consciousness, and we reach out to scratch it. But this itch is a devious itch, an evasive itch, and it sinks back into the depths of our subconscious with just the slightest touch, only to come back later again. Do you feel it now, bubbling to the surface of your being? Close your eyes and feel it bob, lapping against the surface of your consciousness. Don't scratch it this time. Reach out and grab it and feel its pulsating restlessness, and listen to the question it asks. Who are you? Are we really who we think we are? Or are we what other people want us to be? I bet every one of you watching this video has experienced this existential conundrum at one point or another. This constant tug-of-war between who we really are and who we need to be for others. And this is rooted back to our nomadic hunter-gathering days. Alone, we humans were weak and could be picked out by the wild one by one. But together, we grew strong and we thrived, manipulating the environment around us to suit our needs as a society. In simple words, we as human beings have two sides to us. One, the individual element, and two, the collective or group element. So it could be argued that if we live our daily life asserting more of our individualistic side, one could say that this person is true to their nature. He is an individual. Let's call these people category A, the individual identity. But another could also argue that being more social and trying to fit into society, his basic traits have now become the collective traits of the group that he's trying to fit into. And that is what that person asserts and accepts in his daily life. That person could argue that doing this is being true to his nature. Let's call this group category B, the collective identity. So, category A is individual identity, and B is the collective identity. If the answers were this simple, then why do so many of us struggle with existential anxiety about who we are? Are we A or are we B? What if I told you that this is because of something so simple? Despite being rational beings, it is a simple logical miscalculation on our part. Let me show you how. Let's take category A, the individual identity. No matter how homogeneous he or she is with her personality, she will always encounter a point where she must mingle with society. This requires acquiring collective social skills that she does not otherwise have. When category A begins to dilute her identity with the acquired collective social skills, her identity begins to fracture, and you open the door for existential issues to walk right in. Now let's take category B, the collective identity. Identifying themselves as a collective rather than an individual would mean that she would keep acquiring collective social skills, in time diluting her own individuality. Now, no matter how heterogeneous her personality would get, you can't always find yourself surrounded by people. She will encounter a point when she is on her own, and that is when her fractured individuality will collide with all the acquired collective social traits that she internalized to fit in, thus making her an existential mess, confused and misguided without any internal guidance as to what she wants in life. So, if you identify with any of these categories, always remember category A and B is in all of us. And I believe it is finding this balance between the individual identity and the collective identity that is the key to our mental health. Taking time to socialize, to detox from yourself, and equally taking time to detox from a social life is how one could balance the scale of our personalities. This requires us to be aware of ourselves in an ever noisy world where we're constantly surrounded by people, but also in a world where we're surrounded by people even when we're on our own as well through social media. This constant connection with the community when you're out there roaming about in the world and the extension of its tentacles virtually into the silent quarters of our home is where the trouble starts. As individuals watching this video, we must be mindful of the subconscious effects of these tentacles and how they can erode our individual identity, one view and one click at a time. We used to live in an age where we could be what other people wanted outside of our four walls and come back within our walls to be you. But today, social media, being the swimming pool of our collective consciousness, is now within our four walls as well. It is in the palm of our hands in an electronic plastic box. This is the bigger threat if not used wisely, the threat to our individuality. As even at our own home now, you are not allowed to be yourself, but feel the push of social competition from social media, from that little plastic box. So it's important to turn that phone off at home and use that time to be who you are and not subject your individuality to more of the collective narrative than what is necessary. Now assess yourself for a few moments and ask yourself, who are you? Are you an individual or a collective? If you haven't thought about it, then I urge you to.